Well, the show is clearly not trying to portray an accurate representation of literally anything, and it's hilarious. So I just watched season 1 of The Recruit, right? And I didn't even know about this show, let alone the fact that the first season came out in 2022 and season 2 just came out, and I haven't even seen it yet because I just finished season 1. Anybody who watched this show when season 1 came out, I feel so bad for you. You had to wait nearly 3 years for a season 2. See, this is why I don't watch shows with only one season on the books. It's like streaming services have really killed the momentum of wanting to even get into a series in the first place. When Euphoria came out, season 1 was pretty sick. And then season 2 came out and I didn't finish it. And I don't even give a damn about season 3. I don't even plan on watching it. Not even a second of it because I do not care. This SIFR podcast episode is just mostly a discussion on season 1. If anybody wants to jump into the discussion, I'll ask some questions. I want to hear what your thoughts were when you first saw this in 2022. Oh my goodness. I still can't believe that. When the opening scene started for episode 1 and he started singing Taylor Swift, I immediately knew not to take this as a serious spy drama. I've seen spy dramas. I love spy dramas. Have you ever seen Nikita, Person of Interest, Covert Affairs? I'm sure there's some other ones on this list that I've seen. This is nothing like that. This is a satire. And it's a pretty funny satire. I was enjoying this season the entire time. There's not a thing. I'll get to the characters later because I do want to talk about like certain things of the show overall. But ultimately, I did enjoy it. I was entertained the entire time. And it was freaking awesome to watch. Noah Centineo, never was a fan of his work necessarily. This definitely got me interested. See, the thing is, when I first heard of Noah Centineo, I was a teenager, right? He replaced Jake T. Austin on The Fosters when that was like a thing. The thing with me is I've never been a fan of replacing characters. Not in anything. If I'm watching something and I'm already used to the cast, and you try to tell me that this is the same cast member when I know it isn't, it's not gonna be the same. And in turn, that led my teenage self to dislike Noah Centineo. When he replaced Jake T. Austin on that show, I stopped watching it. And then after that, all I've heard was like Noah Centineo's name and was seeing him everywhere. And I was just like, what is the hype around this guy? And I kind of still don't get it. I'm sure the hype has died down over the years since those times. But man, I was just like fatigued, kind of like how I am with Dwayne Johnson and Ryan Reynolds now. This show definitely changed my mind on his ability to act because as I was watching this, I was like, all right, he's pretty good. Like he plays the fumbling idiot suave guy very well. And honestly, for the first episode, the songs that they were choosing, the soundtracks was banger. I was like, oh, what? I was familiar with like most of the artists that they were playing. There were like one or two that I didn't recognize, but because they weren't even American songs, so that's the only reason. But they were still bangers, so it doesn't matter. Okay, for anyone who's unfamiliar, although I feel like if you're listening, you probably have already seen the season. That's why you're here for the discussion portion. But yeah, the recruit lawyer trying to help the Russian get released from prison because she threatened the CIA with releasing information, confidential, obviously. And so now they have to try to help her get out of prison in order to keep that information secret from the world. This sounds so dramatic. If you made it this far into the episode, be sure to follow the podcast on your streaming platform, whether it's Spotify or Apple Music. Be sure to download the episode if you don't get to finish it later. Your downloads don't just help me, but they're useful for you so that you can listen offline on the go. Also, if you overall enjoy the podcast, I'm going to leave that. I'm going to just leave that. Overall, if you enjoy the podcast, please be sure to leave a rating on your podcast streaming platform. Maybe 1 star. That'd be cool. That's crazy. 1 star is pretty bad. Anyway, the characters. I want to talk about the characters because, man, these guys. The way that Lester and Violet sabotage Owen every chance that they get is completely sad to watch. Just for them. I'm just like, wow, your life is this sad that you need to sabotage your kid who's younger than you because you feel like you're not good enough. Maybe you should do better at your job then. Honestly, in saying that, I still like Lester more than I like Violet. Violet is such a not great person. Uh, yeah, she's not it, man. She doesn't even try to. Not to mention, every character in this show feels like a bunch of 13-year-olds just walking around an adult building. I was trying to say Violet. Violet's character is clearly supposed to be the high school mean girl of the workplace, I guess. But even that's petty because it's like you're a 30-something-year-old woman being petty to like a 24-year-old. You need to get your shit together. She was just annoying the entire time. I liked her less than I liked Hannah. And I have no problem with Hannah. Well, okay, I shouldn't say no problem. I'll get to that in a second. But remember that scene when she was in the van with Lester and they were spying on Owen in Geneva? And she asked him in the van, why didn't you ever try to hit on me? I had to pause for a second and I just immediately was like, because you're annoying. That's why. But he gave the typical answer that you expect from someone who doesn't want to hurt somebody's feelings. And, it is what it is. I can't be the only one who thought she was the most annoying cast member on the show. If anybody else found Violet to be the most absurdly annoying, please let me know because I'm not insane. She just seems very toxic. It seems like a lot of whatever she has got going on will easily rub off on the other person, which it seems like it has with Lester. If he wasn't already that type of person, then he must have got it from her. And then we've got Amelia, right? She's fine. She can stay. She's a real one for sure. Like if that relationship was never planned to work out, which it seems like it wasn't meant to work out because they seem more focused on the Owen and Hannah relationship more than anything. If Amelia and Owen's relationship had worked out, that relationship would be A1 without all of the inappropriate immatureness in the workplace, of course. She definitely has his back. I mean, she went all the way to his apartment just to wake up his roommate. And I want to say something about Noah's character. I noticed between the first episode and I forgot the episode number. But it was that episode where him and Lester were at this restaurant or bar or whatever, and he was like, keep underestimating me. When he said that, I felt like that was going to be the start of his character slowly valuing himself and really like, F with me and see what happens. But sometimes you get that Owen where he's, yeah, I'm good at this. I'm going to keep doing this thing. Say what you want about me. F you. And then we go right back to the other Owen where he keeps screwing things up. And I'm just like, dang, you almost stood your ground. I mean, I will say, after he said that to his coworker, he did prove him wrong, right? When he handed the deadbeat dad his ass behind and made him sign the child support papers, I think, which is, such a weird storyline, by the way. In a spy show? Like, what? But yeah, he threatened the deadbeat dad / terrible husband with being blacklisted and arrested for all of the crimes he committed for the CIA if he didn't sign the papers. Ignoring this, because I know this show was supposed to be satire. So we're going to ignore the storyline and just focus mostly on what Owen did to prove himself. And speaking of proving himself, he also constantly feels like he needs to prove himself to his boss. And by the way, the boss, does anybody else like the boss? I like the boss, but he's very sassy. He's a very sassy boss man. The sass is crazy and is hilarious, and I'm loving it. Every time Owen walks in not knowing something, and this goes for any situation, honestly. Anytime Owen's character doesn't know anything, everyone talks to him as if he should have known these things. And so I see that this is a running joke that they like to do in the show, is they like to get on Owen for not knowing something that he didn't know in the first place because they never told him. And it's like this funny thing that keeps happening. Whether he's with his boss or talking to his coworkers or his friends, it just happens in any situation where they're like, seriously? You didn't know this? And then Owen's reactions to these things, like, wait, what? like the look on his face is just hilarious after the fact, where they scold him for not knowing something that he obviously didn't know. You just threw him out in the field as a lawyer, but we never actually see him train for this stuff. He can't fight. He can't use a gun. He can't talk his way out of situations. He got his fingernail ripped off. Do you think if he knew how to talk his way out of a situation, that would have happened? No. This is really new for me because, as I said at the beginning, I'm so used to watching like serious spy show dramas. And so when I came into this, I was sort of expecting a serious tone. But as soon as the opening happened, it set the tone that this was not supposed to be serious. And I was just like, all right, we'll see how this goes. And then as I keep watching the show, I'm mostly expecting, like, because there are serious moments, air quote, in this show. And then it takes you out when they hit you with a satire. And then you're just like, oh, yeah, I forgot I was watching a satire. They know how to balance the seriousness drama aspect with the satire aspect, and it works well, but it also peeves me a little bit because I get so invested in the drama aspect that when they hit me with the satire, I get caught off guard by the comedy, and I'm sitting there like, I kind of want a serious spy drama right now. Now for the roommates, I want to talk about Terrence for a second. I really like him. I'm just glad that they didn't make him the stereotypical gay guy. Like, it just, oh my goodness. When they do that in shows, it really annoys me. It feels very disrespectful, number one. And number two, if it's not a comedy, don't do it. And ironically enough, this is supposed to be a satire and they didn't do it. So thank you for that. If anybody else feels like that was a great move on the show's part, let me know, because I definitely do. And it works. He's a serious guy. He cares about his friend. And the pep talk that he gave him in the car, I think it was like episode 5. It was maybe 20-something minutes in. I freaking love that pep talk. It definitely felt real. Friend between friend. It was no BS. He was not. I can't explain it. I want to see more of him in season 2. I really do. I want his character more developed. I want to see more of him and less of Hannah if she's not going to be in their lives anymore because she's moving out. So I want a story for the Terrence guy. He seems like he would play a really good role in a show like this as the supportive best friend, sort of like what we've seen in other stuff, like shows and movies where not necessarily the sidekick. You know how like Scott McCall and Stiles Stilinski kind of relationship. Like I would be down for that for Terrence and Owens. I said Owens. There's no S. I can't be the only one who would fawn over that BFFness. BFFness? Is that even real? It doesn't matter. We're allowed to make up our own words. All right. I know this is probably my opinion that none of you were waiting for because nobody cares about anybody else's opinion, but it's a discussion, and I want to hear if my thoughts are in agreement with most people who've seen this show. But Hannah is who we're going to talk about next. Hannah. And I'm not talking about Montana. Yeah, I don't dislike her character at all, but I do think writing her as 2 years girl, come on. Writing her as that girl is just, I don't know how I feel about that. And that's obviously the writer's fault. Maybe that's what they were going for. They wanted her to be that ex that didn't get over her boyfriend that she broke up with 2 years ago, even though it was her choice. And somehow she's still out here it just doesn't work. 2 years, girl, you gotta move on. I mean, it's almost like it feels like a victim mentality when she does the things that she does, because it's just weird to have somebody who ended the relationship feel a responsibility to Owen when she's the one who dumped him in the first place. Like, you shouldn't feel like you have a responsibility to him at any point. And then to blame him for messing up your life when you're the one who keeps going after him after 2 years, it's kind of insane. When he's already made it clear that he was trying to get over you. He even told Max he was trying to get over you. But again, she pretends to be this concerned, I don't want to say pretends, because she does play the concerned friend very well. But there's no need for her to be concerned and worried about the guy that she didn't want to be with. That's all I'm going to say. But it just, I don't know, man. It just feels very backwards. It feels backwards. It doesn't make any sense. It seems like the only reason why she broke up with him, based on the context of the show, that they had a conversation. She broke up with him because she assumed something that probably didn't happen. So like, that in itself is just so stupid. We don't really have a lot of information on their relationship either, because the show didn't really give us a lot of backstory on anything of his relationship with his roommates, by the way, which I'm very upset about because it doesn't make any sense. If you're going to make these people his roommates, we need to know things about the roommates. Can you imagine watching something like Friends, which I've never seen, and not knowing anything about the roommates? All I know is one works for the Treasury Department and the other one is a lawyer too. That's not enough. I'm sorry. That's not enough. It's not well thought out. These people should be his home base for when he comes home from a stressful day at work. I want to see that relationship dynamic expand when he gets home. Instead, we're barely even home. But yeah, Hannah's character is just one of those characters that doesn't need to be here if she's not going to add anything to the story besides more stress. It just makes it really difficult and confusing because in the show, their relationship is set up as this friendship sort of thing. But it's really hard to separate whether or not she's doing this because they're friends or because she still has feelings for the guy. And if there's anything else that I'm missing throughout this discussion, because there were a lot of points that I wanted to make involving Hannah's character, because I like the character. I like Hannah as like a character, but the way that she was written is just not it. So I don't know if anybody knows this, but when I ask for like, I don't know, for you guys to add something to the discussion, maybe some things that you might have found interesting or didn't like or whatever, Spotify has their own comment section. I do look at that, and I also look at the YouTube comment section. Speaking of Max, oh my goodness. Her relationship with Owen feels like this whole partners in crime sort of thing. But Owen has resentment for his partner. I don't know. It's just a weird dynamic. It's a weird dynamic, and it's a dynamic that works. But until you realize that she is a murderer and she beats some guy with a crowbar. Also, I thought the guy that she was beating with the crowbar remember that girl that Owen kept meeting at the motel and they were eating chicken nuggets? I thought she was going to be important at some point, but I guess they really did mean it when they said that they were strangers and they were never going to meet again, because I just thought that, hey, they might bring her back into the show for whatever reason if she's connected to something. And I thought she might have been connected to the guy who was beat with the crowbar, but that wasn't the case at all. We never saw her again. We had Owen out here doing 3 girls, max, because he ended up sleeping with her too. Hannah, Amelia, and this motel chicken nugget girl. Well, then I guess that's not 3, that's 4. Why is this so entertaining? It's like, I don't know what I should take seriously sometimes, because it's a comedy satire mixed with a spy drama. So then when she starts beating the guy with the crowbar, I can't help but laugh because it was kind of funny. I don't know. I was really like expecting a storyline where the motel girl was somehow linked to Max beating the guy with a crowbar. That wasn't the case. She was literally just a random girl that we never was going to see again. And they meant it when they said it, and I should have took their word for it. But the problem is with this show is taking them at their word is probably not a good idea, as we've already seen with the characters who clearly keep doing this, by the way. For example, if somebody tells Owen something, he will literally take it as face value and just take their word for it. As soon as Max gave him that watch, my first instinct was, hey, man, you might want to check it first because it's a spy show, and I watch a lot of spy shows. Dude didn't do that. And I'm sitting there like, we're on episode what now? And we're still neglecting the fundamentals of spying? The characters don't take anything seriously. They just take things at face value. They're so easily convinced. They don't ask any follow-up questions. They just do what they're told. Like, this dude was literally told by, I forgot her name, the Dawn lady, to get up out of his seat because it's her office now. He was like, all right. What? You don't know any of these people who are walking around in this office. They kind of feel more like mindless employees. That's the best way I can explain it. Not to mention, everyone is terrible at concealing information. Absolutely terrible at concealing information. Which leads me to my next point. When they were cleaning the hotel room, getting rid of evidence that Max and Owens were there, I was so disappointed. Because getting rid of bags and clothing doesn't necessarily mean that the cops aren't gonna know that they were there. I mean, you didn't even scrub the place thoroughly the way that you should. First of all, there's so much more you have to do rather than just taking their clothes out of the room. Like, let's be for real. You gotta wipe down the surfaces. You gotta clean the doorknobs. I would clean the shower for DNA, make sure the drain isn't full with hair, change the sheets. Like, there are so many other things that you need to do other than just packing the bags. That's not scrubbing a room. I bet that they didn't even check the refrigerator to see if there was pre-eaten food in there with their DNA on it so that they can throw it away. Or take it with them, not just throw it away in the garbage in a hotel, because that wouldn't be helpful now, would it? Scrub the place, man. Check the sink. There are just so many things you have to do. There was carpet in that hotel, right? I mean, oh my. The prison that Max was in, like the first couple episodes, didn't even look like a prison. I don't know. It looked like an asylum, like a hospital ward or something. It did not look like a prison. And those outfits definitely didn't help me to believe that that was a prison. I don't know. Yeah, those outfits were just so bland. That was just a minor thing for me. A minor. I don't know if that really was noticeable for anybody else or if anybody else even cared. But whatever. My overall thoughts for this season 1 of The Recruit, is it's clearly not an actual spy show that's meant to be taken seriously. It obviously doesn't take itself too seriously, which I enjoy. It was just more for entertainment and enjoyment value. Yeah, it definitely wasn't like your typical spy show. It wasn't meant to be that way, and I definitely like that. It's definitely a new twist on a genre that I'm so used to watching. So I don't know. Has anybody else seen any of the other spy shows that I've mentioned earlier? If you did, how did that make you feel towards this one? I like this show. I like the season. I'm glad I didn't have to wait 2 or 3 years for season 2 and that I just found out about the show. Again, for those of you who really watch shows when the first season comes out, I just can't bring myself to do something like that no more. Over the years, I've learned never to watch something with one season. I just can't do it. I'll wait for the second season to drop, and then I'll decide to watch it. I like how I sound so triggered right now. I'm not triggered. You are. I don't mind a miniseries, but if it's a regular show that's not meant to be a miniseries, I'm not watching it if it's just one season. I will be watching season 1 of Daredevil Born Again, so there's that. Even though there's no guarantee for a season 2. I've been in this Daredevil craze since the first original Daredevil on Netflix came out. And so I have to watch this because I want to see how bad Disney flopped or didn't flop. I want to know if I can praise them for the first time in forever. See what I did there? And I'm very nervous, but I'm also really excited to see Matt again. But this is not about Daredevil. I might even do a discussion on that. We'll see. I'm probably going to also do a discussion on season 2 of The Recruit. So if you want to stay tuned for that, be sure to turn on notifications so that you don't miss future episodes of the podcast. Actually, I'm lying. Oh, I'm a compulsive liar now. There was this show that just came out in January that I did watch only because of the production studio that released it. Yeah, that'll be it for this episode. If you enjoyed it or if you didn't enjoy it, tell me why. Thanks for listening, and you'll hear me in the next one, if you listen to it.